Hello class. In this last video lecture of Module 3, we're going to talk about two topics. The first one is going to be diversity, where we'll define what diversity is, then look at some dimensions of diversity, and then how diversity plays into the work organization. In the second part of this video lecture, we're going to examine work-related stress, which is certainly present in today's work environment, and there's no question people are asked to do more with less and less resources, which creates a great deal of stress. There's uncertainty. Sometimes there's a lack of commitment of the organization to the individual employees and from the employees back to the organization. All of these things, work-life balance, all of these things contribute to high levels of stress and even in some cases burnout. So we'll examine the issue of stress a little bit and kind of see maybe how we can mitigate some of that stress. So let's start by talking a little bit about diversity. Diversity represents all the ways people are unlike and alike. The differences and similarities in age, gender, race, religion, ethnicity, sexual orientation, capabilities, and socioeconomic background. So there's a lot going on there, right? We're similar in a lot of ways, but we're also different in a lot of ways. And if you look towards the bottom of that list, from capabilities and socioeconomic backgrounds, diverse group, widespread of people, again, with different backgrounds. So we're all different, but in a way we're all the same. Your book outlines a diversity wheel, and what that shows is really just, because when we talk about what do we mean by diversity, sometimes some people view it as there's a lot going on. Some people say no, there's just a few differences. Well, the book outlines really 4 dimensions of diversity, which make us unique, which makes us ourselves. And as we go out from these, we go from kind of things that aren't necessarily changeable, and they're kind of with us around for our whole lives, and then some things that change as we make our way through life, as we move from the center here out towards the outer rings. So if we look at the innermost rings, so these are the 4 dimensions. We have personality, the internal dimensions, external dimensions, and organizational dimensions. At the center here is our personality. And we talked a lot about that in previous video lectures. We said, look, a lot of these depend on are influenced by traits, right? There's certain innate characteristics that we're born with. We do have some influences from our environment and our upbringing, but for the most part, our personality is kind of set. We talked about those big 5 personality traits and the core self-evaluation. That's what we're talking about in here. That comprises our personality, and it's how we act or behave under certain circumstances. This next layer is our internal dimensions, and again, these have the most influence. They're the most easily identifiable. And they're with us throughout our whole life, right? So our age is our age, our race, our gender, our sexual orientation, physical ability, ethnicity. Those are the things that are kind of with us our entire lives. And again, for the most part, easily recognizable. Our external dimensions, now these could change over the course of our lifetime, right? So our geographic location, where we're living. Our marital status, we can get married, but we can also get divorced. Our parental status, we don't have children, then we go out and we do have children, so that changes. Our appearance can change, our work experiences, educational background. Your educational background is changing as we speak right now because you're getting more education. Your religion, recreational habits, personal habits, your income is something else that's going to change. So all of those things help define who we are in terms of diversity, and they will change, and hopefully some of these go up as you go through your life, income and things like that. The last one of the organizational dimensions, it's really how we define ourselves through work. Our management status, our union affiliations, our work locations, which change from time to time, seniority within an organization, the division, the department or unit, the group that we're working in, our work content, the field that we are working in. Again, those things change, and with them, it changes maybe the way others define us or we define ourselves. So those are the 4 dimensions of the diversity wheel. Trends in workforce diversity. We are getting older. The median age of Americans is almost 38 years old. That's the oldest in our history. And that makes sense. People are living longer, right? So the median age is going up. Not to mention we have the baby boom generation, which was the largest generation, now hitting retirement age and a little older. So we do have a higher median age. Many more women are at work now than in the 1960s. The U.S. population has become more racially and ethnically diverse. Workplaces are becoming more inclusive. These are all good things. People with differing physical and mental abilities, about 20% of civilian Americans have a physical or mental disability. And our educational levels mismatch between what our workforce needs are. So at about the time I'm filming these videos, I think I read 21 million jobs that are unfilled right now because the requirements of the job just don't match the educational needs that we have or that's needed to fill those jobs. So there is somewhat of a gap between the jobs that are available and what our educational levels are. And again, jobs are becoming more complex, right? We've stressed that a lot throughout the course of this term so far, that as the jobs become more complex, we need a more complex, educated, skilled workforce to fill those positions. So those are some of the changes that are going on. Barriers to diversity, stereotyping. We talked about stereotyping and prejudicing. I think it was in module 2. Fear of discrimination against majority group members, resistance to diversity program priorities, a negative diversity climate within your organization, which is why leadership is so important in organizations. Lack of support for family demands is an issue. We talk about work-life balance. Sometimes there's a lack of support there in the organization, and a hostile work environment for diverse employees. Again, all of those things, it's critical that leaders create a work environment that is really strives for inclusivity, and inclusivity from all employees. We get so many different perspectives and so many different viewpoints and angles, and become a much smarter organization if we try to really embrace diversity within our organizations. The next topic we want to look at real quick here is stress. And stress is the tension people feel when they are facing or enduring extraordinary demands, right? Constraints, or even opportunities. Opportunities sometimes create a lot of stress. A new job, a promotion, something where you have to move and maybe move the family. And you're uncertain about your ability to handle them effectively. All of these things create stress within us. Sources of job-related stress, individual differences. Type A personality. Type A personality is somebody who's very wound up, very, very aggressive. Always has those time demands in their head where they have to get somewhere and they have to do something by a certain time. That's a type A. Type B is a little more laid back, but usually individuals with that type A personality tend to be a little wound, a little tighter. The job itself. Your job itself could be creating stress demands, role overload, role conflict, or role ambiguity. If you don't know what it is you're supposed to be doing, especially at work, if no one has told you specifically, here's how you're going to be evaluated, here are the things you need to do, that creates a lot of ambiguity, role ambiguity, and that in turn creates stress. Group demands created by coworkers and managers is a cause of stress. Organizational demands created by environment and organizational culture. Some organizations have a very aggressive, high achievement type culture. Some people have trouble working in those environments where you're constantly pushing forward, constantly trying to improve. Sometimes it does lead to burnout. Non-work demands are personalized, are certainly catalysts for stress. The family demands, whether you're taking care of an elderly parent, or you have young kids, or you have kind of teenage kids who are highly active in a bunch of different activities. Your kids are going to college. Very, very stressful times. Symptoms of stress, how you know when you're kind of getting stressed. There's the physiological, right? The biological feelings and things that happen that are symptoms of stress. Headaches, backaches, sweaty palms, nausea, all those things are signs of stress. There's psychological, there's irritability, there's nervousness, there's anger, anxiety, and depression. All of those things are psychological symptoms of stress. Behavioral, you can't sleep, you change your eating habits, you increase smoking or drinking, and maybe you start abusing drugs. There's an opioid crisis in this country, and a lot of that could be related to stress, whether it's personal and or professional. But those are some of the symptoms of stress, and burnout, which is a state of emotional, mental, and physical exhaustion. Stress obviously is not good. There's degrees of stress that people experience. When it becomes overwhelming, when it reaches kind of the pinnacle, is when you have this emotional, mental, and physical exhaustion. You almost can't even get out of bed because it's overwhelming what's going on. There are ways to reduce stressors in an organization. Roll out employee assistance programs. Have somebody available for the employees to talk to and to help them. Recommend a holistic wellness approach. There's exercise, there's diet, the things you can do. There's positive meditation. There's positive things that you can do. There's that wellness approach, as opposed to trying to deal with it through smoking and alcohol. Create a supportive work environment. Understand that it happens. Understand the culture of your organization and how employees are reacting to it. Try to make the jobs interesting. Certainly boredom will lead to certain levels of stress. And make career counseling available. So maybe if jobs are being terminated, or if people just aren't sure about their future, career counseling certainly to help alleviate some of the stress. Okay, so that's our final video lecture of this chapter. We talked about diversity. We talked about some of the dimensions of diversity, and the importance of having a culture in the organization that embraces diversity. And then we talked about stress. What are the causes? What are the symptoms of stress? And then maybe what are some of those ways we could alleviate stress in the organizations to help employees cope and even thrive?